Hello, everyone. We're back. We're back from the end of the 2025-26 women's college basketball season, and we have crowned a champion. UCLA was able to take down South Carolina, capping off a tremendous season and giving UCLA their first ever national championship. I am Jamie Steyer Johnson alongside Megan Gauer. Here's our instant asterisk reaction here. Just an unbelievable game. I felt like it was such an impressive performance from UCLA, leading wire to wire, coming out of the group of death, coming out of the Big Ten, and able to first avenge their lone loss of the season against Texas in the Final Four, and then able to really just solidify their legacy, solidify how tremendous of a team this is with a huge 79-51 victory over South Carolina. So, Megan, let's get kind of your top level reaction from the game.
Yeah, just a dominant, I think, performance from UCLA. I don't really think there's any other way to put it, right? They led the entire game other than the first minute where it was tied at 0. They were up by as much as 35 points, end up winning by 28. I think just like every number you look at, right? They had the 49-37 advantage on the boards, shooting 43% compared to 29%, 40-28 on points in the paint. Just like they dominated in pretty much every single category of this game. And I thought it was kind of poetic for a UCLA team that last year comes to the Final Four, is on the flip side of that situation, and their loss to UConn in the Final Four game, and now they come back here, they figure it out, they win a national championship in a dominant fashion.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the score, that's obviously dominant. And then, as you mentioned, you can go down basically every statistical category and you can find that, I mean, essentially everyone goes in UCLA's favor. One that really jumps out to me is so many coaches talk about rebounding as effort, right? Well, that showed because UCLA got more rebounds on their own offensive end of the court than South Carolina did in the game. You have 21 offensive rebounds for UCLA, 20 defensive rebounds for South Carolina, and that ended up resulting in 25 second chance points for UCLA. And so that really seemed like something that right off the bat they were really emphasizing, and obviously paid off in a really big way. And I mean, look, this isn't a team that is super deep this year, had some injuries, had some departures from last year, but the rotation, the core 6 rotation for UCLA, a core 6 that Coach Corey Close in their press conference just said she thinks that all of her seniors, if they're on really any other team in the country, they're probably a first team All-American in her eyes. And with the performance we saw today, it's really hard to push back on that because all 79 of their points came from those core 6. All of their starting 5 end up in double figures, and capped off by, of course, a most outstanding player performance from Lauren Betts, who, as soon as she was announced, is pointing at Gabriela Jaquez because she had such an incredible game today, 21 and 10 for Jaquez. I mean, just a kind of the storybook ending for this senior class.
Yeah, and I think that's the most outstanding player of the weekend, right? Like when you look back at the Texas game, I think it had to be her, but Hawkins was just fantastic today. Like I think she probably had an argument to have that award as well. As she finished with 21 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, just an insane stat line. Just had such a great performance for them, and it just felt like she was everywhere. It's like the numbers are impressive, but just the way she was on the court after every rebound, every loose ball, I thought she was just impressive for her or so impressive for them. And then just looking at like her, Kiki Rice, like they came in as freshmen to this program and now bring it to its first Final Four last year, bring it to its first national championship this year, like just such an incredible way for them to end their UCLA careers after spending 4 years there.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like it's something that means a lot to them. I mean, Coach Dawn Staley talked about in her press conference how Jaquez is just someone who changes the game because you know what she's going to do, and there's nothing you can really do about it because it's not something you can scheme for. It really is just that effort and being everywhere at once, and just has kind of that seemingly endless motor to her. And that's why, I saw some people talking after this game about how this was probably a chance for her to improve her draft stock. And I don't disagree, but much like I said about Lauren Betts the other day, if you didn't already have a pretty solid draft stock projection for Gabriela Jaquez, and I just question whether you've been watching much of this season for UCLA. And so just incredible performance top to bottom. They talked a little bit in the press conference as well. Steyer Betts, I mean, didn't have a ton as far as minutes, but when she went in, she had a really impactful stretch, only played about 6 minutes, but had 4 rebounds in that time. And Lauren talking about just how much it means to her to be able to share this with her little sister, and obviously a team that has grown to be like family for each other. And so it just has been really special to see, in a year where there's so much talk about, well, there's not parity, there's, this, that, there's these dynasties, whatever, but you get a first-time national champion, you get them coming out of, as we said, the group of death, you have these things that haven't been done before, and, bordering on one of the largest margins of victory in Final Four history. I mean, they said in there, job's done now. That's what they're saying after the Final Four. Job's not done. They finished the job in pretty much the best way you possibly could.
Yeah, like you said, just I think for this whole group, right? It's like a group that has committed to playing in Coach Boy's system. They didn't go, like, even the transfers, right? You didn't go to a UConn or a South Carolina where you kind of knew that was going to be, like, you were going to be here. You trusted the UCLA program, and they get back here, and then they get to win their first ever national championship. And I think it's just such a great story for this group and this group of seniors that have all had fantastic college careers. Also kind of fun that it's like all Pac-12 transfers too, when you think about it, right? Like, this is like for the Pac-12 in a way. Like, you have Gianna Neepkins, who played at Utah. You have Charlie's Walker, who played at Washington State. So it's like a very Pac-12 heavy group.
Lauren Betts from Stanford. You have Tamia Gardner. I mean, I also have to say, like, to do all of this and Tamia Gardner misses the season, that to me is so unbelievable, because you've had Lauren Betts absolutely dominating on the interior. When Sienna finally got healthy, that definitely provided a huge boost. But through all of that, you had just kind of waiting in the wings Tamia Gardner, who ended up missing the season. And so to say, all right, man, we are going to be losing this core, this really experienced core, that's tough. But, not that you are glad that she missed the season, but the fact that you have her to build around for next year. And as Coach Close said, portal just got a lot easier. That definitely provides such a boost for them. As she said, it's validation that it can be done differently. She's been at UCLA for, 15 years now, and gets to the first Final Four last year, gets to the national championship, gets it done today. Just been really, really impressive to watch that growth. Really quick, I want to address on the flip side here for South Carolina, obviously a really tough loss, but, as Coach Sean Staley highlighted several times this year, this is such a different team from last year. They had obviously some significant changes in kind of their identity, and brought in some new players and changed some of how they play the game. Something that we talked a little bit about last game, and that you certainly can't ignore today, is the impact of Agat McKeer. Going to be really tough to, lose Reva Johnson for next year, and Medina Okot, but my goodness, McKeer coming in, having another tremendous game, another double-digit game at every single game of the tournament. Her, and with the other youth on the team, as always anymore, the future is certainly bright in South Carolina.
Yeah, I think McKeer obviously had a fantastic postseason. You're starting to see her scratch the surface of what she can do, but that plus Joyce Edwards, Tessa Johnson, assuming coming back, like, that is quite the core to be building around for next year, as it's kind of table stakes with South Carolina these years, right? Like, there's not, even when there is these big pieces leaving, there's a lot waiting in the wings to continue.
Yeah, and I mean, it definitely is one of those where, people talking about how did the difficulties and kind of the pain of last year motivate you this year. And that's what, every player that we spoke to in the press conference and Coach Close all said, it's you have to learn by doing. And they certainly did that. And so for this South Carolina team, they've been at the top. Now they've had a really tough loss here, but for the majority of this team, there is more ahead of them as far as, potential postseason play, and certainly a lot to grow from. I think this says infinitely more to me about UCLA than it does about South Carolina. South Carolina, obviously incredible team, incredible season. They just came up against a team that had such a level of maturity, such balance within their rotation. I think that this is more proof of the fact that this notion that positionless basketball is going to like nullify the impact of posts or something like that. I don't think that was ever the point of the idea of positionless basketball, but if that was how anyone took it, all you need to do is look at the impact of Lauren Betts to know that no, post play is certainly not going anywhere, and UCLA definitely benefited from that today.
Yeah, I think you've just seen more of that throughout this tournament, but particularly in this game and the game against Texas, be able to really just establish dominance in the post and kind of that's what she's done all season long and really her whole career at UCLA. But I think just on display in the biggest stage here, and it ends with the championship. But her just like being a walking double double, being able to change the way that defenses have to approach a UCLA team, even if she doesn't have 20 points, right? The way that the defense has to attack her and that frees up the shooters on their perimeter. And then on the flip side, on the defensive end, the way her presence in the lane just makes things really, really difficult. I mean, there's not a lot of games where South Carolina has the disadvantage in paint points, right? Like 40-28. That's a kind of eye-popping number, I think, on paint points for a South Carolina team. And Lauren Betts is a huge piece of that, even if it's not, 6 blocks on the stat sheet. It's just her presence in the lane really impacts the way you can run your offense, and really resulted, I thought, in South Carolina taking a lot of threes that they would not normally take today.
100%. Yeah, we mostly will keep to like the overall vibe, the experience here, but I do want to dive in on that just a little bit. That 100% was my takeaway as well. I mean, you have a South Carolina team that shot under 50% on layups in the game. That's just not something that we see from them basically ever. They definitely were impacted by Betts' presence in there, and that outside of the couple of blocks that she did get. And then you saw exactly as you said, settling for threes at times, and not even mostly settling, but they were getting good looks at three, but it's just so uncommon for them. We see them shoot a high percentage from the 3-point line because usually they're able to get such clean looks, such open looks, right in rhythm. And that comes because they are first and foremost looking to drive the ball down their opposition's throat. They're looking to get to the rim, and that simply was not a good option today. And so that meant that their perimeter shots were tougher. They were, I think, in a lot of ways easier than what they got inside, but that doesn't mean that they were easier shots. And so it just shows that there's no good option against a defensive team like UCLA. And so they started with their defense, and then they got it done on offense as well. They held both of their Final Four opponents to their lowest point output on the entire season. To do that at this point in the year, I mean, that kind of says it all.
Yeah, and I thought also with their defense, just like you said, a lot of shots that South Carolina didn't want to be taking, and that was a lot of low percentage shots. So South Carolina did not make a lot of shots today, and I think that helped UCLA a ton. We saw the few times that South Carolina was able to bring out their press that UCLA struggled with it a little bit, but just when you don't make shots, there's not a lot of opportunities to set up your press, and I think UCLA obviously struggled quite a bit with that against Texas, but just was able to get enough done defensively that didn't impact them in this one.
Yeah, able to get enough done defensively. And then after that first kind of push from the press, I thought that they calmed down a lot, and they did learn from that Final Four matchup. And so down the stretch, I mean, there was really no stopping UCLA. Just the confidence, I think, was the big difference. But they definitely approached it as far as their strategy, as far as their press break, very differently. And so especially in the second half, we really didn't see a whole lot as far as issues with that press. But as you said, I mean, when you don't even get the opportunity to set it up very often, then that kind of takes away any opportunity to have any issue.
Yeah, and I thought confidence was such a big piece of this too. You heard Tori Close, but also Lauren Betts talk about like they really felt like they were going to win this game before it even started, right? Like there's obviously points in the game where it probably set in when they were up 30 points. But I think the confidence to like come in and be like, yeah, we're going to go win a national championship today. I thought you saw that on full display on the court in the way that the game was played.
Yeah, you saw it on the court. You saw it off the court. You saw it after. Anything you see coming out of this day, this weekend, I think you're going to see that confidence, that joy. And I think that that's really inspiring for really every other team, every other coach, every other player watching it to say, as I mentioned earlier, Coach Close is saying, you can't do it differently. It's validating. And so, you know, it's a grind, it's hard, it's work, but that doesn't mean that it can't be fun. It can't be rewarding. It can't, you know, you can't come away with these really important memories and relationships. And so just really cool to see the way that they were able to finish the thing. You know, it definitely is really special, something you don't get to see all that often.
Yeah, and I think you could just so clearly see the joy in the players here today, like the happiness to win a national championship, to go out as seniors like that, to bring. I think there's like an element too of it, right? It's UCLA's first national championship in the NCAA era. Like that makes it even more special. Like they are forever going to be such a big part of UCLA women's basketball history in general, and that's really, really cool.
It is. It was really cool to see, really cool to be a part of it here, and good to kind of get into it here in our instant reaction. Obviously, there will be plenty more to get into over the course of the week, coming days, all that fun stuff. Now we flip the page into preparing for the 26-27 season. We'll get into all of that at a later time, but for today, a huge win. Congratulations to the UCLA Bruins with their first ever NCAA national championship. For Megan Gauer, I'm Jamie Steyer Johnson. Thanks so much for joining us this year, this NCAA season at Her Hoop Stats. We'll talk to you next time.